Since I have started publishing my free course on software architecture, I got some feedback. Some feedback was positive, and thank you for that. Some feedback was not so positive, and some was not very constructive at all. In any case, I got quite a lot of interesting things to discuss. And today I'd like to do a small Q&A session and answer 4 of the most interesting comments and questions I got. So today we will discuss having handlers in main and single responsibility principle, dependency inversion principle, thread safety, and is it okay to use dict property to convert an object into a dictionary. So let's start with handlers in main. I'm assuming it's about main.py class, where I configure a particular endpoint to controller correlation. So what is the single responsibility principle in the first place? It's a bit vague principle from set of principles called solid, which in my opinion are mostly focused on static typing, compiled and pseudo-object-oriented languages like Java and C#. And it sounds like a module should be responsible to one and only one actor, or a class should have only one reason to change. Now, the idea itself is, if you will, solid, but the devil is in the details. Depending on the programming language in question, word module can mean different things, and actor or reason to change are not very concrete definitions too. So I'd probably suggest rephrasing this principle into it is usually a good idea to limit responsibilities of the unit of the execution, which can be function, class, etc., ideally to one thing. But that unfortunately isn't very helpful either. I do not call these handlers. Class main, in my case and in my understanding, is responsible for configuration. And this is configuration. I configure what endpoint I expose and how those endpoints are related to the controller methods. In the real project, most likely I will have many endpoints, so I'd probably break the code into smaller chunks. But it is not because of single responsibility principle. It is because having a long configuration in a single place is not very practical. Second point. The code I show is not thread safe, and yes, that is actually correct. Since I'm doing the course on software architecture, I ignore some of the things which I don't consider relevant. But I'm working on a new course focused on design patterns in Python, and it will cover thread safety. But yes, it is something to be aware of. The code I demonstrate in this course is not designed to be thread safe, so it's not like you can just copy-paste it in your real-life project, and just generally do not copy-paste code from random internet resources. Third, and my favorite point.
You violate dependency inversion, dependency injection principles.
The reason for this comment is this default constructor, where I initialize a field with the concrete class. On the surface, it looks like a valid criticism, but I do not believe it is. What is dependency inversion in the 3-layer pattern? It is the fact that business layer does not depend on other layers and instead exposes interfaces that other layers should implement. So not business layer depending on other layers, but other layers depending on the business layer, and thus we have inverted dependency direction. In some languages, like Java, you can actually swap dependencies using constructor or setter injection without recompiling the code, which is great and sometimes very useful. On the other hand, having a default constructor that just specifies what is default concrete class you're going to use if there is no other configuration is not a violation. If you think it is, I would say you are kind of following a cargo cult approach where there is only one way to do things, and if you just deviate from this way, you do something wrong. The world is not that black and white, folks. Last one. It is not okay to use dict property to generate a dictionary from the class. And yes, it is generally true. Doing so may have some unexpected and undesired side effects, It will not necessarily have them, but it can have. One can use some better ways of converting to dictionary, but that's not the focus of this course. So I would ignore that. This is a valid suggestion though. In production code, don't generally or automatically use dict to convert an object into dictionary. Wow, my small rant is over, but I hope it was useful. In the next lesson, we will cover authentication and how it will fit three-layer pattern. Stay tuned, hit like button and subscribe to my channel. See you around, folks.